What's going on, you guys? I'm as always Mr. Grimreaper 512, and welcome everybody to my channel. And welcome to the very first day of Mob Week. Today we're going to take a look at the first 3 films for Mob Week. I know this is very early. I was actually thinking about doing this like sometime next year, but I wanted to give you guys my thoughts on the films that I grew up with, on these mob films that I grew up with. Starting first with the Godfather trilogy. Now, of course, you know the Godfather trilogy is the Godfather trilogy is what many would relate to as the greatest trilogy in the history of film, and in the history of all film. And that's why I figured, I might as well do a Mob Week for back in time. And today we're going to take it back to 1972, with the very first iteration of The Godfather. Now, of course, The Godfather was directed by Francis Ford Coppola, and it stars a plethora of people who would later on have good careers. Of course, the music was done by Nino Rota. The film was produced by Albert S. Reddy. The screenplay was produced by the individual that wrote the original novel for this film, by the name of Mario Puzo. The film stars Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, James Caan, Richard Castellano, Robert Duvall, Sterling Hayden, John Marley, Richard Kant, and a young Diane Keaton. Okay, so I am going to get into major spoilers, which I don't know how the hell anybody has never seen this damn movie, I have no idea why anybody has never seen this film, because I've seen it thousands of times. But we're going to talk about, but I'm going to get into major spoilers. So if you have not seen this movie, I'd rather you get off the video, go get on a website or something like that, or even buy the film on like DVD or something like that. I'm pretty sure they have a box set like Walmart or Target or whatever, and watch these movies, because I am going to get into major spoilers with this for this. So we're going to talk about this. Okay, so alright, so this film, of course, begins at a wedding, at a wedding. Of course, Vito, played by Marlon Brando, is doing business and stuff like that. During this, there's a lot of stuff in this film that I'm about to get into. And this film, when I was growing up, my dad, who still is a huge mafia fan, still is a huge mob film fan, showed me these films when I was a kid, and I loved every minute of it. The Godfather, of course, Vito Corleone. As I said before, this whole thing begins in 1945 at a wedding for his daughter Connie, and then the next thing we come to find out that we see the early stages of Michael as he's coming home from World War II, and he introduces Kay, which of course is Diane Keaton. So we see, everything looks. The wedding scene at the beginning of the film, it looks beautiful. It looks like you're walking into a dream. That's how it would look to me. So what happens is that in the film we come to find out that that Vito is Vito is talking to his godson, which is Johnny Fontaine, who is a famous singer, and Fontaine was seeking help to get a movie role. So comes one of the most horrific scenes. Right after we see this, we go to another scene, and in comes the most horrific scene in the history of cinema shot, where you see this man named Jack Woltz, who is, I guess, like a producer, like a film producer or something like that. Yeah, he's like a studio head. Woltz is laying in his bed trying to sleep. He uncovers the blanket. He takes a sheet and uncovers a severed head of a horse. That was and what I liked about the film is that as we see the horror in his eyes, we see the horror in his eyes as he's pulling back the blanket, and we're seeing this severed head. I'm surprised they got away with that. But anyway, but yeah, this movie. So shortly after that, there was a drug baron by the name of Virgil Salazzo, who was backup to the Taglia crime family, asked Vito for an investment in his narcotics business and protection through his political connections. So Vito declines Virgil. Suspicious, Vito send his enforcer to go spy on them, Luca Brasi. We see a part in the film where they just went all out. This dude gets choked, garroted by Taglia and Salazzo, and Salazzo, after they kill off Brazzi, they try to gun down Vito. Vito gets gunned down, and then they kidnap Tom Hagen. So we see at the end, later on, we are introduced to Sonny Corleone. Now let me tell you something about Sonny. Sonny has a fucking temper. For many of you who have not ever seen this movie, he has a damn temper. Salazzo pressured Hagen to persuade Sonny to accept his deal or whatever, and then they released him. The family then receives a fish wrapped in Brazzi's bulletproof vest, indicating that Luca slept with the fishes. So Vito survived, and Michael Crescendo, who is played by Al Pacino, throats another attempt on his father's life. Michael got his jaw broken by Captain Mark McCluskey, who is an evil person, who is an evil son of a bitch, because the McCluskey is a dirty ass cop who is working with the Taglia crime family. So at least that's what I think. But let's see here. So Lotso's, he is working with their asses. So Sonny tries to retaliate with a hit on Bruno Taglia. Michael plots to murder Sollozzo and McCluskey at the deception of settling the dispute. Michael arranges to meet them in the Bronx restaurant, where we see the old hiding the handgun. This scene was good. The way they when I saw this scene was good, was so good because of the way the camera was pointed. They didn't move the camera. They didn't let the camera go or anything like that. It just stayed on them a little bit. When Michael goes into the bathroom, grabs the gun, we see a shot of McCluskey and Sollozzo just sitting there having a ball with each other. And here comes this dude who is wanting to get payback for his father almost getting killed by these assholes. And it looks so good. The way they scripted it, the way the camera pans during that dining room, during that restaurant scene was so good, and I enjoyed that scene so much. But anyway, so he kills both guys. So the next day, the five families they meet to decide what to do. So Michael, who is in Sicily at the moment, because he is he's fearing for his life. Fredo is who is Michael's brother, is sheltered by Mo Green in Las Vegas. Sonny attacks his brother-in-law Carlo on the street for abusing his sister and threatens to kill him if it happens again. So yeah, Sonny has a temper. Sonny has a damn real big temper. But we come to the shocking part where we see Sonny go. Sonny gets gunned down in this next part. He is ambushed at a highway toll booth and riddled with machine gun fire. Michael isn't there. Because Michael is dealing with his own problems in Sicily. He meets a woman by the name of Apollonia Vitelli. I can't say the name, sorry. A car bomb that was meant for him takes her life. So he's not happy with that. So what happens is that I believe he goes back to the States, finds out Sonny is dead. The Taglias are controlled by Don Emilio Barzini. Vito attempts to end the feud. He assures the five families that he will withdraw his opposition to the heroin business and forgo avenging Sonny's murder. His safety guaranteed, Michael returns home to enter the family business and marry Kay, promising her that the business will be legitimate within 5 years. Kay gives birth to 2 children by the early 1950s, and with his father at the end of his career and his brother too weak, Michael takes the family reins. So he tells Hagen to relocate to Las Vegas and relinquish his role to Vito because Tom is not a wartime consigliere. Vito agrees Tom should have no part in what would happen in the coming battles with the rival families. Michael travels to Las Vegas to buy out Green's stake in the family casino. Michael is dismayed to see that Fredo has fallen under Green's sway. So we come to the part where Vito dies. Vito passes away due to a fatal heart attack. The funeral, Tessio Corleone Capo asks Michael to meet with Don Barzini, signaling the betrayal that Vito had forewarned. The meeting is set for the same day as the christening of Connie's baby. While Michael stands at the altar as the child's godfather, Corleone assassins murder the other New York Dons and Mo Green. Tessio is executed for his treachery, and Michael extracts Carlo's confession to his complicity in setting Sonny's murder up for Bazzini. Corleone Capo Clemenza garrots Carlo with a wire. Connie then accuses Michael of murder, telling Kay that Michael ordered all the killings. Kay is relieved when Michael finally denies it, but when the Capos arrive, they address her husband as Don Corleone. She watches as they close the door on her. So that last scene, when he becomes the Don, when he becomes Don Corleone, was fantastic. I enjoyed that scene a lot. This movie was good. Everything about this film was good. Everything about this film was fan-freaking-tastic, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And for that, you bet your ass I'm going to give this film a 10 out of 10. This movie was good. This movie was enjoyable. This movie is the greatest movie. Not because of people saying it was, but because of the scenes that were part of this. There were historic scenes in the film. The death of Sonny Corleone, the restaurant scene where Michael goes in there and kills the cop and the other guy. This movie was fantastic. I enjoyed it, and I think if you're new to at watching these films, give it a watch. Give it a complete watch, because you won't be disappointed at all. But that's gonna be it for me for right now. I am Mr. Grimreaper 512, and I'll see you all in the afterlife. Peace.